Good morning, Courtney. Can you hear me? Thank you. That helps. I'm going to unmute you, Courtney, just so I can say hi.
Hi.
You can say hi back. How are you?
Good. How are you?
How is it in Colorado?
It just snowed 4 inches last night.
Okay, that's what I heard.
Yeah, so I just spent the morning brushing off all of my beautiful lilacs and bushes that were all
Lilacs that now have snow on them.
yeah. So
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
lots of snow.
A lot of snow. Well,
But it's nice. It looks pretty regardless.
Okay. Good.
Even
And
though
I
it's
hope
May
you can enjoy it.
21st.
I hope you can enjoy it. Good to see you this morning.
It's good to see you too.
All right. Talk to you later.
Okay.
Seth, so I got that far. I'm getting there. And I set this up, but I don't really know what I'm doing with it. So I just set it back there. In case you like the idea. But this is
I like this can work.
That's
actually.
what I think.
What was something was not working about it. The video wasn't working on this, but it's working now, so it's
Okay.
fine.
Lovely. That's good news. I listened to it, so I did see that it was workable. The sound was workable. Yes.
Oh, okay, that looks good.
Okay.
The only thing I noticed is the video from the phone is much higher quality.
Much more, isn't it? It's better.
A few years of technology.
It does. Just a couple iterations later. This is good news for possible incarnations. You figure you get a couple in, it just improves. New model, doing better all the time.
Better resolution.
Better resolution.
Better choices.
Better, the whole thing. Look at that iPhone 6 and now look at the 10. Just, if that works like that for us. And I have no idea. So good morning, everyone. Good morning, Courtney and Marjan. I see someone else there. I think that's Robin. Hi, Robin. I feel like I don't ever acknowledge the online people. So hello, good morning this morning. So this morning we're going to be doing two things. We're going to be talking about our compassion practice because I want to know how that's been and the capacity to be awakened every moment by exactly what is present, the pleasant, the unpleasant, and the neutral. And that we can use each not only as an opportunity, I said on last week, but as an offering, right? We can use each as an offering and really directly, immediately, and on the spot. You don't have to wait till the cushion time. You don't have to wait till the evening when you're doing a specific practice, like a loving kindness or compassion practice. That's typically when I do mine in the evening as I'm recollecting my day. You can do it literally, purposefully, with intention and wholeheartedness every breath. It does require, then, that we know how things are, which is the cultivation of our mindfulness practice. Without recognition, without attention, without awareness, without the knowing and the noticing, there can be no offer. Right? That makes sense to everyone? There's no way to offer the reality, the truth of the present moment if we are we're checked out. And we spend a lot of time, we all know this, especially in this 21st century, distracted by just trying to keep the information straight, right? There's so much. We're being flooded by information throughout the day. And then beyond just information, this, Pema calls it cocooning, this continual seeking, starving, and striving for protection, safety, and familiar. That beyond the reality of this infinite information that's just available. Now, by the way, it was always there. Interesting, right? The truth of information has always been, but now it's just so available, so accessible, and now it actually feels like it's in our way, right? Because data points and bytes and so much happening every moment. You can't possibly read. You could not possibly read all of the material that's placed in front of you in a day, just by email. It would take the whole of the day and more, right? And so now this capacity for needing to scan and screen and prioritize and has actually intensified our feeling the need for the cocooning, like just too much, too many, overwhelming just by words and sound bites. This then, for me, just personally, requires, for me, I'll just speak for this mind, this heart, more space. And it isn't like the space isn't always here either, right? It's right here, but I notice that I have to cultivate that, because left to the device of email, or there's quite a swarm. So on purpose, practicing this idea of spaciousness or being spacious contributes dramatically to our sense of ease, our sense of wholeness, our sense of well-being, right? The sense of space. And so Mike and Lisa, for sure, know the practice I do sometimes from the Dzogchen tradition called the Buddha breath, the Buddha body and the Buddha being, which is really not more than wide open space, just making contact with wide open space. I was hesitant to write the word Buddha in the newsletter because we have a large group of people who are interested in these practices who are not identified as Buddhist. Well, I don't identify necessarily as Buddhist either. So you don't have to be concerned about that. Those are the teachings that I enjoy, that make sense to me, and that I have some training in. But I think the ists and the isms, we have to be careful, don't we? Because we are not only this. We have often a root tradition, a lineage. We're not only that. We have gender specific understandings. We're not only this. And so I try not to climb in too much to that. Being a this or that, it all has a consequence. But the truth is, I decided to go with it because it came out of the Dzogchen tradition. And remember that the concept of the Buddha simply means awakening, awakened, present, here, right? You don't have to believe anything in order to access that, right? So I thought we'd practice first, and then if we could do a little review on the compassion practice, the sending and taking, the offering blessings, as well as the taking in of challenges or difficulties. But I thought we'd just do a little practice time first. So if you could get comfortable. Yes, please. That would be lovely. Thank you. And Victor, could you just close that door a little bit so that those entering. I think the natural light works fine for the video. And since you're not really looking to access the Buddha out beyond you, the seeing eye door isn't the most important. We're looking to make contact. So in the Dzogchen tradition, we are already enlightened. We are already Buddha. We are already the being. We have already been assigned this privilege right from the noble birth. And so the Dzogchen says, already perfection, natural perfection, available here and now, nothing else to be or do. Already Buddha breath, already Buddha body, already. You are already this. Can you make contact with it and get out of the limited mind that believes there is something deficient, there is somehow not enough already available this present moment in you and in the world? It is already perfection, running its perfect course. And then we remember the aspirations for our practice. And the easiest way for me to remember my intentions and aspirations is to remember what I care about. I care about contributing to freedom. I care about offering ease. I care about being connected, sensing the reality of belonging. So recollecting those things you love, those things that are important to you, those things you care about. And remembering your intentions and aspirations for the practice. Practice so that I can be free and all beings, just like me, can be free. We practice so as to cause least harm. We understand that this practice alone is sufficient. Just in the sitting itself, we are doing less harm than is possible. Right from our stillness and silence. And when we are able, we contribute to the good by our very Buddha being. This natural inclination of the heart-mind to contribute. It is the Buddha nature in you. See if you can remember as we breathe these very aspirations. May this practice contribute to all beings everywhere without exception, omitting none. That we breathe in not only for ourselves and those we love, we breathe for all beings. We be the Buddha being for all beings. And for a moment, rather than coming home first to the breath, let's just get a sense of the space all around us that we are sitting in. And that with each breath, there's an infinite, boundless amount of air. There is no lack. You don't have to grab at the breath. You don't have to pressure to get the breath. You don't have to make the air. It's freely offered, completely available. So rather than struggle with the breath in any way, see if we can't just remember the open space, completely made available to us. Perfect, natural, spacious. And then we invite that light smile and that ease. And so we settle back just a little. Rather than pressing into the practice, we actually settle in. Invite that in-breath into the body, letting it fill and nourish. You don't have to do anything for that to happen. It's already a miracle. And then we simply let go. Breathing into and out from the open space. Primordial goodness. Breath by breath. We are an essential part of the space. We are not separate from it. It is always here and always available. Nothing else to do, no struggle, no resistance. Resting in the joy of being. Enjoy the naturalness of the breath and the natural awareness that is present breath by breath. It doesn't matter where the attention lands. Know this too. Thoughts about the day occurring within the wide, open, vast, boundless space. Not me, not mine. There is no object that can obscure this vast space. It is not the thought, not the sensation, not the image. It is the grasping, the clinging, the holding, the making me. And once we recognize the tendency, we can simply once again rest in that open space. Thoughts as thoughts. And smile. Can you hear the stillness and the silence? It is always available, always here, always an available quality of heart mind. It is you. This is the availability of the Buddha breath. Open, spacious, vast, radiant, each breath. There's nothing to make, nothing to get rid of. Already realized. A short breath or a long one, smooth or jagged, cool or warm. Simply conditions coming and going. No problem. Enlightened, awakening, fully present every breath. Buddha breath. It is the breath, it is the objects, it is the quality of mind that is just this one. Nothing to shed, nothing to get rid of. Breathing everything. Nothing to seek, nothing to look for. We can rest the mind right in that vast open space with each breath. Letting whatever comes come and whatever goes go. We inflate these Buddha lungs, expanding the Buddha belly. As we breathe in this Buddha breath, we make contact with the Buddha body. This precious, noble incarnation of being human offered to you. Embodied consciousness right here. Touching into the Buddha feet. And then the Buddha legs. Perfection, however they are. They have offered you this moment in which to be awake. These Buddha hips, the alignment, the uprightness, the strength and the flexibility of the Buddha spine. Beautiful crown of the Buddha head. And inviting the breath in to the Buddha forehead, relaxing and softening the whole of the front of the body, that which we present to the world. Smiling, shining Buddha eyes, serene. The release of the Buddha jaw and the Buddha mouth. And that gentle smile. The Buddha being. Touching into the openness of the Buddha throat. The release of the Buddha shoulders. Weight of the Buddha arms and the openness of the Buddha hands. Touching into the lightness, the wholeness of this Buddha body. Coming into feeling the expanding, the filling, the rising of the Buddha lungs, the Buddha chest. The beating of the Buddha heart. Buddha be. Feel the warmth, the radiance, the open space of this Buddha body. dropping in to rest in the sense of the Buddha belly. Soft, natural, open. And let this whole Buddha body soak in this Buddha breath. You don't have to try for it. You just have to recognize it. Already perfect. With each out breath, dissolving any sense of barrier or separation between this Buddha body and this infinite space. It's not true. This Buddha body breathing, this Buddha breath. Resting in the infinite, open, radiant nature of Buddha being. the imperturbable, unshakable, always available Buddha being. Is not born and does not die. Boundless Buddha being, breath by breath. No struggle, no resistance, nothing to cling to. The Buddha breath being offered to this Buddha body, waving in, over, around and through. And back again. Seeing if you can let go of any believed thoughts that arise, that there's anything special for you to do other than breathe in the Buddha breath, enlivening this Buddha being. As you breathe, remember that you're making contact with all the Buddhas, all the Bodhisattvas, all the infinite beings throughout all time. right here, present now, nourishing you. You, O nobly born, remember who you really are. The gift of this precious human life, accorded to few. The room got crowded. It's amazing. Okay. Any questions or comments about that practice? It's pleasant. pleasant and peaceful.
Kind of like when I do a single point.
Yes, just here with this. Yeah, less struggle. Sometimes. When we remember.
What is the purpose of that meditation?
Recognizing that each moment is a moment of awakening, that there is no struggle, there is no difficulty other than that which we impose on the life that it is, on the body that is, on the breath that is, on the being that is. And maybe you could feel, sense, or see that just residing in the open space, just residing in the Buddha breath, the Buddha body, or the Buddha being, no problem until, oh, maybe I'm not getting it. Is this it? Maybe I'm supposed to sit up more. Is that the breath of the Buddha? Maybe my breath's a little shaky. It's a little too short. Then we can just begin to see where the obscurations, and in fact, it cannot be obscured really, but where this felt sense is, I am trapped in the cocoon, says Pema, I am not the butterfly. But in fact, it cannot be true. Cannot be true. The cocoon is the butterfly also. But we get claustrophobic, right, sense, or something should be different about my life or about the environment or the so many conditions. We conditionalize this precious human life, and in so doing, create the struggle. There was a funny story. I wonder if I could remember it. I'll try it. So there was a Zen student who was going into a 3-year retreat, and the Zen master asked that the student report in each month on his progress. And so the first month, the student wrote, I see one with all things. And the master shook his head and threw up his hands and threw away the note. And the next month, the student wrote, I see the holiness of me in connection to all that is, and realize nothing is born or dies. And this sort of spits, doesn't even respond. And the third time, this student says, no thing, nothing to say, nothing to be, just Buddha nature. Zen master still, it's hopeless. The fourth time, the Zen student writes, fuck you. I don't care what you think. And the master nods. I kind of like the story. Isn't it true? Yeah, we're looking for something, aren't we? Almost every breath. So if we could only get it right, if I could say it right, if I could think it right, if I could get it, and if right, somebody could stamp that as finally arrived, then I'll be okay. And the truth is, it is already, particularly in the Vajrayana tradition, which is considered the third wheel. It is already true. The only thing left is for you to remember. Right? They've gone through the trainings in the Vipassana. They have rested in the open heart, beautiful, awakened open heart of compassion. and kindness in the Mahayana, and now in the Vajrayana. Only one thing left is to remember that it's true. And we know this, right? We know the spaciousness of the moments that we remember. You have them. Where it's this. There's no to do another thing. And it's not because it's perfection, meaning it all went my way. It's not perfection because you got everything you were looking for. It's not because it was a sunny day and the perfect breakfast was had and then the children were perfect. It isn't any of that. It's that you woke up to the preciousness of being alive with that exactly as it is. Exactly. Nothing to change. But we can then open, can't we, and respond to that perfection, both in us, through us, and then to all beings. And so this joy of being, which was a very short chapter for any of you who looked at it, right? The joy being didn't say much, did it? And it didn't say much because it, as we understand it in the Vajrayana, there are no words. It is beyond language. There's no word to give it. Every word, said that Zen master to that student, has failed, really, to capture the infinite, its vast and infinite nature.
It's peaceful. It's very peaceful meditation.
Yes.
But then I'm not gonna go and run.
Yes. The rest of your day, the rest of your life, you drop in to moments of just being because it's always here. Remember, there's nothing special in this moment that's going to be in any way different than your next moment, except that you are, right, noticing a mind that gets gripped and caught in the gotta do, gotta be, gotta have, gotta not have, gotta get rid of, gotta something, and that this is mind made. You're resting in the what they call the essence. This is resting in the essence. Everything else is mind made, isn't it?
I was thinking about, I don't know, this came up. There's this Bible verse. Part of it that I remember, which doesn't really explain it all, but it triggers it for me, is remember the lilies of the field.
Yes.
And this verse, I've never, I mean, it's always like annoyed me, and I've always been like, that it's not true, that's not reality, because
Yes.
the verse is about everything is provided for you.
Yes. All
And
the blessings.
Look at the lilies of the field, they don't do anything. They are clothed in beauty and given all the nourishment they need. And when you were talking about the breath, and I thought, oh, this is really true. I mean, I started to almost get that.
Yes.
The reality of that.
Yes. Yes, that's beautiful. Because it's already here. You've been given everything already. It's already true, says the Vajrayana. And I know this to be true as well. Whatever you're making of it, you're preferencing around it, your bias, you're seeking, you're wanting to get rid of, that's just the claustrophobic mind at work. That isn't even you. It's just a mind in its habit for going, grab something, get something, do something, right? But it isn't the truth. We struggle, don't we, to simply rest in the reality of this precious human life, this incarnation that has been accorded to few, says the language. You are already blessed beyond measure from having this human life so that you can invite consciousness, presence, and being. It's available here. Whatever else is true. Whatever else is true. The days you like and the days you don't like. And then, of course, these are the teachings that we use as we turn towards the idea that it is beginning, has a beginning, middle, and end. We begin to start working, and we're going to be doing this next in the fall, to begin to look at this idea of impermanence and death, we make that story up too, that somehow I have to keep this human body. Because if I can't keep the human body, and if I can't keep it a certain function, and if I can't keep it this idea of alive, which consciousness is not born anyway, so you don't have to worry about it. It isn't you, but that's the next piece of the work, isn't it? In this just being, then we go, then I better hang on. Better hang on to that log, because that must be what it is. No, this is the next set of teachings for us in the fall. Is no, you don't actually have to worry, because the log wasn't it anyway. You don't have to grab on. And in fact, my genuine desire is that you could come to see that that is not you, so that as it dissolves, as it changes, as it ages, as it becomes ill, as it does whatever it does, you don't have to sweat that either, because you didn't mistake it. You didn't mistake it. And if you've been around anyone who is ill or aging or dying, and it's all of us all the time, isn't it? You notice the gripping, grabbing struggle that we bring to the party.
And then there comes a point where that is relief.
That's right. Well, you don't mistake it.
Yeah.
You're not confused. The confusion it clears. Where you go, this isn't me. And you take care of it in the way you can, right? You regard it in the way you can, understanding. And this is where compassion is born, isn't it? Compassion is then born as we watch ourselves and others in the struggle. We can feel for ourselves then terrifically, can't we? You could only feel for yourself and others as we watch all the struggling, all the suffering, and all the way that mind makes the story. I gotta have it, I gotta keep it, I gotta get it. And we watch that mind in us, don't we? And we don't have to get rid of it, by the way. It's not necessary. You don't have to try to transform it. It's a lie. You just have to recognize who's talking. It's just the kind of 2-year-old at the party, right, at their birthday party, who just doesn't want it to be different than, right?
You make me think of my dad. He's going to be 94 this year. And he's in fabulous shape, and his mind is as sharp as could be, and et cetera, et cetera. But he's so funny because we're sitting around the apartment like, what are you going to do with all this stuff when I'm gone? Well, I wasn't really thinking about that at this moment, Dad. He says stuff like that all the time. He's just like, where'd that come from? And, and he'll say, you guys won't have to deal with me too much because I'm just going to die of a heart attack and that'll be the end of it. But he has that just like, and then it's on. Now he's like, look, well, you better start thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm leaving it to you.
Yeah. Just sit there going, okay.
It is. We are not our stuff. We are not our bodies. We are not our identities. We are not our thoughts. And as you get older, the energy shifts enough that you go, I don't want to drag that. That's getting to be a little much. Too much stuff. Too many. My father-in-law, who lives with us for the last year, we sold everything he owned to the extent that that was possible. Gave away the rest, threw the rest away, and sold his place. And we told him, and my husband's, I don't know, it's going to be a little distressing. Anyway, what was I going to do with it? Oh, good. That's great. What was I going to do with it? Who needs 25 shirts?
As long as they're not yours.
Yeah.
If someone else's, you gotta get rid of it.
What was I going to do with them? I don't need it. He doesn't have a very good recent memory, and he actually jokes about that and goes, "Who needs that anyway? I'm just eating the lunch I'm eating. Who cares what I had yesterday for lunch?" Right? And there's a kind of essential wisdom in it. Right? So, well, they think it's a big deal. So what? Who cares about yesterday? I already ate it. I don't need to know. Right? And this, there is some wisdom, isn't there, that actually comes, and it looks a little crazy to us because we're grabbing after everything. And you notice the freedom, don't you? The liberation, the release, the ease that comes when you're not grabbing at anything. Just being. Just being. And I want to invite that for all of us. We'll talk about practice later. So we're gonna.
I had a friend whose father died. His father had vast collection, an artwork collection that literally covered the walls, and had been one of the original advertising men. And so he had all these beautiful silk ties and silk suits. And so smartly, my friend asked me to help him get rid of this stuff. And it was interesting because he was very, very overwhelmed and attached to the value of everything. So it was very difficult for him. And for me, I was just, all I could see was, wow, you are totally overwhelmed and you need to get rid of this stuff. And just got rid of it, And 2 weekends, and then suddenly it was some manageable things my sister wants and this like this. But it was that, I was just thinking about that, sort of the act of compassion that it is to be able to walk in with somebody and notice that the feeling is the important thing, not all your attachment to it.
That's right. That's right. The thing itself will come and go. The thoughts about it will come and go. Is it who you are? There is no tie, is there? No matter how expensive, no matter how beautiful, no matter how hand-painted, that makes you more or less. And we all do this, don't we? We all do this. Well, when my brother was dying, his twin and I would come in and care for him for periods of time, and his wife, fraught with grief, right, terrifically, would walk in every day and look at something and go, "Who left the crumb on the counter?" Right? We understand this because we know the way the mind can, don't you? Grip like this. And my brother, in his need to probably invite some levity, started moving things in the house. So just turn the light, and then he'd take, what's the thing, put over there. And of course, recognizing now that this was probably not in her best interest, she would walk in and kind of freak, of course, because you're trying to control something, even if it's just the way you line up the underwear in the drawer, right? And we're all doing it. And then what? You could only feel, can't you? You can just feel for the distress of, in the midst of everything that we can't and shouldn't do anything about, we're going to grab the hair and make it the problem, right? Not like, gotta go like this, can't go like that, you gotta, right? And it's useful to watch what we grab, don't you think? I think it's so instructive and actually quite hilarious. So I'd like that to be a part of your practice. See what you're grabbing. You will know it by your particulars. It's gotta go like this. I can't wear the white, but have to have the black. Where are those? I have black pants on. I should be having the black things, not the right. Now remember, it's not to look with condemnation, criticism, anything but joy. Because in the noticing, there is the release. Then you go, is it true? Is it true that I have to have it just like this in order to be okay? And what did we already say the answer was through the practice? It's never true. It's not just not true. It's never true that gotta be, gotta have, gotta like this. It's never true. And see if you can see where the delusion is. What is it I'm believing? What am I buying into? Right? I have a friend who has a very nice car, and she was just saying to me, I think I've got to get another car. I said, why? And she said, well, this one's like blank years old. It doesn't matter. And I said, well, I don't know what that, I'm not sure why that means you have to get a new car. She goes, well, doesn't everybody get a new car after about 3? I was like, no. No, they don't. No. And you don't have to. There's no rule about that. Right? And those are the fun moments. But what are we really looking at? The ones where we go, the partner's gotta, I've gotta, the house has gotta, the kids gotta, the car's gotta, the parents have gotta, it's gotta go like this. This is why holidays are horrible. What are we doing? Gotta. Something's gotta be a certain way. And I just want you to know where the switch is to turn off the electricity that's shooting you. Where is it? Right here. You can just go, let that be. I don't have to get hooked and carried away and at all. And that's our training. So we rest in open space so that we know what it feels like when we're not there. And we rest in open space. This is our true nature, so that we know what it feels like when we're not there. And you can just know, whoops, something's gripped, something's caught, something's clinging, right? You can just know. And not go, oh, if life were only, if that were only, if the coffee were only warmer, if the cream were only colder, then, and it's just notice. Do not mistake the habit nature of mind for you. That's, I think, where a lot of people get caught. Well, but I then have to get rid of that thought, or I have to, no, not actually. Not actually. You don't have to get rid of anything. Just know its nature. This is what we're looking for.
For me, notice those habits. Instead of just, I can sit in open space and just watch. And what I've been doing more recently is try to really hold on to it with some open spaciousness, and you can't.
Right. Right. It's very impossible.
It's already morphed into something else or disappeared. It's like, wait. This thing was like there.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it is not solid enough to hold.
But when you turn towards it and try to hold it and recognize that you can't hold it there, I mean, there is some opening of why try.
Yeah. The turning towards is to see the cause to the extent that we can. And what I notice is that there is often a residual grip or a residual tightness, and now it is, by the way, just an appearance also, because there is the mind that can see the one that grips, isn't there? And you can always rest back, says the Vajrayana. You don't have to buy into I am that gripped mind. You can rest back in I am the one. I am that which holds it in open space. And that's what Mike's saying. Once you move back into open space, the object has already dissolved, and it's true. So what can you know? If I'm in distress, I can feel the sense of distress in the body. I can notice the thoughts that might be propagating the distress. I can feel particular emotions, pain, fear, disappointment, anger, grief. But really, the open space is that which can make contact with it, not the thing itself. It is you already in awareness. Body like this, thoughts like this. And we're trying to get you, in terms of identity, to recognize that you are not that. You are not that.
I do have a fair amount of Tai Chi, and there's certain movements that, like I can, and like, for some reason I always went into my bathroom because it's like the safest, like a safe spot for me, in my bedroom. But and I'll do this movement, or I'll go outside on the grass, just one movement, and it's just a grounding movement, and then I can take those 3 breaths. But a lot of times I can't take, I can't get to the 3 breaths without. So I'm such a physical movement.
Yes.
That just movement just calms me down, and then I can take my 3 breaths.
Yep.
So when you were saying how do you hold on to it, that's part of what I do when I really feel like, okay,
Yep,
losing it.
I love that conversation. So what are the things you can do to remember your own open, spacious, infinite Buddha nature? And Robin says, well, I do a little grounding first, and then notice in the grounding there's a kind of natural opening that happens there. For some people, they can just go out and look at nature, right? Just the sky, and remembering I am this, the open and infinite nature of the sky. For some people, the ocean. It doesn't matter, right? It's always available. We could be in this room just looking at the source of light, finding its way in, the open and infinite source of light, that we are this.
I had, when you were talking before, I was thinking, oh, well, it's not the habit mind, it's all the trained mind. Like things that I've been told this is true, and that for me, I just realized, oh, okay, so you see the thought, and I can see where that came from. This is a belief in my society, my family, and that thing, like a thought like this, like that's just a thought.
Yes.
Then that is like really grounded, because then it's
Yes.
so that is that really true? And
Yes.
then everything just sort of,
That's right. Is this true?
is this really true?
Katie Byron has a little method, right? Is this true? Is this always true? What would it mean if it weren't true? Could you imagine that this, in fact, is not true? And how would you be if it weren't? Be that. Because, in fact, if it's causing you suffering, it's not true. Doesn't mean your knee doesn't itch. That's sensation. But you're grabbing something about it. It is not the experience in this life that is the cause of our suffering. There is no experience in this life that is the cause of our suffering. It is the identifying, the fixating, the grabbing hold, and or, right, the rejecting of these arisings, these temporary moments, as Mike says, as us. As us. I think I told a little funny story about I went to dinner with my husband, and I was saying, I've got a lot to do, so I don't really want to go to dinner if we're not going to connect. I have no idea what that means. I don't even know what it means. Now, if we're not going to connect, then I don't think I want to go. And he was like, okay. Let's go anyway. I said, okay, I'll go. And so, of course, we're eating whatever we're eating, and he looks up at the basketball game or the football game or whatever thing is on, and I was like, see, this is what I mean. If we're not going to, and he goes, so because my eye averted for like a moment, right, you've decided that this whole endeavor was, and the good news was I was watching it. I was a little bit playing with it, a little bit playing it out, because I was like, how does this really go? This is what that I've got to have more to be enough. I've got to have attention. I've got to have care. I've got to have your eyes have got to be on me. You've got to do it this way. And you could see the insanity, can't you? Right in it. Right? Like, none of it's true. None of it's true. Right? Not even slightly true.
Yesterday in our community, all our electricity went off.
And it's quite an interesting occurrence because neighbors come up, is your electricity up? Yes, it's really off. I said, notice how peaceful it is.
It's really true. No bing, no cling, no click, no hum, no, right?
People come to do it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, more likely, don't we? More likely. So with our last few minutes, I'm wondering, so there's a few things for the on-the-spot practice I want to frame, and then I want to talk about last week. So we're going to notice the grip, notice the caught, notice the stuckness, notice the self-making qualities, anxiety, tension, hurried mind, gotta thinking, not gotta, there's something in there. See if you can pause for that and see if you can breathe in a little space. Just open into the space. Don't do anything. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to get rid of the thought. You don't have to change the thought because it's already actually gone, is what Mike said. It actually isn't there. It would only be there by your memory and by your holding it, wouldn't it? It's not actually there. Now, just can you open into the open space and then just say or invite Buddha breath, Buddha body, Buddha being right here. See what it does. Open space. And how that, whatever the object, is different in open space than it is when the shrink-wrapped mind has grabbed it and held it as essential, right? Essential to being. That's what we're doing, aren't we? We're saying it's essential to being. It is not essential to being. It is not. And then, can I just find a sense of openness? Breathe that in and see what happens, right? That's going to be our practice. That's the just being. Open space. See if we can. And then last week's practice, any thoughts about that? Noticing the pleasant, breathing it in, offering it to oneself as essential nourishment, and then when we feel full, filled, enough, breathing it out, offering it out. That was the good news. Anybody remember that? Were you able to do that at all? What'd you notice?
It was really easy to do when I was by myself.
Yes. Yes.
But then when I started getting kind of hurried and
Yes.
that was way more difficult.
Yes. Task positive network mind, by the way, has no capacity for ease. Don't mistake it. Different mind. Now, it doesn't mean out of open awareness, we don't go into task positive with it going, and then I'm going to affect this, right? But the truth is task positive network, like driving, let me use that as in requires task positive networking. It's very hard to feel for your fellow drivers when you're locked into the task of driving. You have to open something, don't you? You have to open. The task positive network itself is a small little set of circuitry to get it all done, motoring, right, sequencing, executive. It's got no heart. It's got no heart. So it's exactly right. It's almost impossible.
I've oddly found it easier. On Sunday, I was driving back and it was raining, driving through LA, and we go to a place where it was really raining. And I don't know why, there was something about rain really allowed me to have compassion for the other drivers, because I know people in Southern California are scared to death when it rains.
Yes.
Like
Yes, they are.
really pleasant for me. So,
Yes.
which is weird. Like I have a lot of problems having any compassion for drivers.
Yes.
So I was like really surprised. Like, wow, yeah, I don't have any problem today. Like I can
Yeah.
see people are like really wary and
Yes.
they like freak out if somebody starts to dive through and they want to leave 25 car lengths. And,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
yeah.
That recognizing is not task positive network. It's not. It is the opening to what? That which is larger than just the driving and just me, isn't it? In the driving. That's not just task positive. Now, could you recognize it's raining? I already have concern and care for myself and others, and then drive a certain way. We could do that. Again, it's not like they're excluded, but you have to open a bigger door in order to feel for and to be with. Then the task positive network will allow for you, left to its own device. Which is why when we did the studies at Virginia Tech and said, get over to that other classroom in 5 minutes, 8-minute walk, get there in 5, climb over that injured person screaming, everybody climbed over. Guess what we got? We got them locked into task positive network, which is my well-being has everything to do with getting to that building in 5 minutes. I can't do this. You know this is true, don't you? Yes, you do, because you went, well, you know, I could, but you look like you got it anyway, and I'm going to be late. You do know it. You've done it. You've gotten in task positive, haven't you? You can know there is no heart in it. There's just the tasking in that just one part. But we can open it, the good news, in any moment. And remember our work last week? All those others, just like me, opens that door. It's larger, right, than just me in this task. All those others, just like me, who are afraid they're not going to get to that classroom. And right, that's the beginning of moving beyond the task positive network into that, the truth of our open space and interconnection. So watch for that. How was it breathing in the difficult? How was breathing in this moment? I, just like others, feel this pain, this fear, this anxiety.
I think it was even more impactful than just working in the classroom for me, because I'm focused on what's wrong, what you're thinking so much. So to allow that, I don't even do one breath. I do 15
Yes. Yeah, great.
down,
Yes.
and then I have some.
There is room created even in this, actually. That willingness to take something in beyond the self, beyond the me, already has expanded that heart mind. Remember what I said? The very willingness to do so already opens the circuitry. We know it in the neuroscience, and already opens the vagus nerve. You're already feeling that warmth, that openness, like others like me are struggling in this way. So there are real reasons, by the way, why those practices work, and we're just beginning to understand a little about what that really is. It's a different mind. Now it's your capacity, but it isn't the same one going, I've just got to get right. It's a whole different network. It fires differently. It has a whole different set of chemicals. This is amazing that come with it, that invite a whole different experience.
But I think it, for me anyway, it holds all the rest of it.
Yes.
That opening, I mean, everything
Absolutely.
else is still there, and maybe your sympathetic nervous system is firing off in different ways, but it holds it all.
That's right. Exactly. It holds everything. And so this is what that practice was. It was for you to get the direct experience that, yes, the good, I can breathe that in. I'm noticing the open space and availability, the sense of interconnection there. But even in that which I don't like, or I didn't necessarily want, or it's not my favorite thing, even in that, the very willingness itself expands that task positive network into that Buddha being, Buddha heart, just so you know it's happening. Your very willingness is the point. I said that to you last week. I hope that you could see that it was true. It doesn't mean we like something though, right? We don't have to like it. Ouch, like this, right? Ouch. But that's not the part. The preferencing part of the mind isn't the one we're accessing. That's not actually the point. So you can feel however you feel. Remember what I said? It's not about a feeling. You can think whatever you think. It's not about that. You can have any physical sensations you have. It's not about that either. It's about the willingness itself. I want you to try it again this week, would you? I want you to go, I am willing to breathe this in, and I want you to see what actually happens, because it's already happening. Yeah, so don't mistake it. And don't go, wait a minute, I think I'm supposed to be happy now. I was supposed to have a lighthearted feeling. I was supposed to be smiling. I don't feel so smiley. No, none of the conditions. This is not the point. The willingness, I want you to look for it, because your very knowing to breathe it in is already willing. You're already willing. If you go, well, aren't I? I think there's somebody. Can I find somebody to breathe it in for? It doesn't even matter who it is. This is the other beauty. It could be someone you love. It could be someone you don't know across the world. You say, I'm going to breathe for them. I'm going to breathe for them. It's there. That awakened heart mind is already ignited.
It's so amazing. On Thursday, there was like this, everything went wrong. You know, my friend, he was supposed to drive, his transmission died on the border in Mexico near Yuma, and he lived all the way here in second gear. And so at first I pick him up, and then he just starts like processing all of that. Plus, there's a guy pressuring him to do work while he's on the road dealing with this and everything. So he's going through all this. Then his wife was flying. She was supposed to fly to Tijuana. Their plane had a problem. She ended up in LA. So we pick her up, and they've lost her bag, and her father, who is trying to drink himself to death and mentally ill, has gone missing in Mexico, and her sister will not deal with it, and her brother lives in Australia. So this is them. So, and they're like, and they went through it once or twice, and then they're still going through it. And the first time I'm okay. When it gets to the second or third time, I'm starting to get irritated, and then I'm like, okay, like we're going off to have like the best time of our life. These are great friends of mine, and I'm stuck in the car with them. So not a lot of choice about, I mean, I could get really, really irritated now, or I could breathe this.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, and I tell you, I mean, we went through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time we got there, it was gone for them.
Mm-hmm.
It was gone, and they had a great time.
I love you saying that, because there's actually something happening that you don't even need to know about. It isn't just the benefit to you, is the point of this. There is really benefit to others, and it interestingly can be felt. We are often not open to the reality of it until we're sick or still. And often with sick comes still. And that in that you can say, no, I know that others are here holding this with me. And it doesn't even require a lifetime of practice. That's the amazing thing. It can be the spontaneous arising that you go, no, wait, I feel in a real way that others are here knowing this, holding this with me. And it does make all the difference when we remember. Right, doesn't it?
I got to share that. Go to the crystal bowls and be careful when you pick up the $20,000 bowl. But anyway.
Yeah.
And she said, don't put your head inside the bowl. Well, I had to do that. And it's transforming. Put your
Yes.
head inside a bowl that's ringing.
Yeah, because what's your sense? Right? There it is. That open, vast, infinite space is everywhere. So let's take a moment together. May we all be well. May we all be happy, having the causes for true happiness. Breathing it in and sending it out. May we all be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May we all have joy and take joy in the joy of others. May we all rest in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, and all affliction. May our practice today contribute that this be so. So be it. Thank you always for your practice, your presence, and your being. And your being. Thank you so much. You have a little sheet here. I'll send those to Courtney, and I would like you to find at least 3 words. You might want to look in the chapter. You might want to look at